Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Leveraging Leadership. This episode kicks off our Chief of Staff series. I'm so excited. It's been weeks and weeks of planning and preparation, but it's finally here, and I'm so happy to be able to share it with you. So first off, what is a Chief of Staff? I hear you asking. When would you bring one onto a company? Wait a minute, how do they interact with other departments and other leaders on the team? Emily, what exactly does a Chief of Staff actually do every day? Those are great questions, and all of those will be covered in some upcoming episodes. At a very high level, a Chief of Staff is the right-hand partner to their principal, typically the CEO or another executive. And their job is to orchestrate and execute on the company's mission and strategy. And so a Chief of Staff will be almost always working with nearly every department across the company. So you'll hear more about that in upcoming episodes. And you'll hear more about that from some amazing guests we have. So I'm so thrilled because we have Chiefs of Staff from the likes of Google and Microsoft. We have some who are from a startup environment. We have Chiefs of Staff from different industries and verticals. And all of them have different backgrounds and experiences and training. And so their path to the COS role is different. Some of them have stayed Chiefs of Staff for a long time and intend to stay Chiefs of Staff. That's their career. And some others have been in the Chief of Staff role and then moved on to a different role or moved on to a different part, a different stage of their career. But they talk about what they learned as Chief of Staff and how that helped inform what they're doing now, and how the Chief of Staff role was kind of a springboard to their next step. So you'll hear all about that. You'll also hear from some executives. So not just Chiefs of Staff, some executives who have worked very closely with Chiefs of Staff. And it's really interesting, at least interesting to me. It was fun to hear about how they viewed the role. So what their definition is, how they would describe the role. Some of them talk about the initial challenges they had when the Chief of Staff first got there, and then how that was smoothed out when everything was humming along, what advantages and benefits they saw. So I think having that mix of perspectives is really useful and valuable. I will also throw in a few solo episodes. So I will talk about just different aspects and elements of the role from my point of view, from my experience as Chief of Staff myself, and also what I've learned from coaching Chiefs of Staff and their principals. The reason I'm doing this series is twofold. So first of all, I loved the Chief of Staff role. I loved that role. It was the best role I've had. And it was fun and exciting and challenging, and it made me stretch and grow and learn every day. And it made me a better leader for sure. And I think whenever you can say, I get to wake up and I get to serve my team and I get to make my team better, and by extension, make the company better and make our customers successful, oh, that is a good place to be, right? That is just like the golden path to be on. I knew that I did this at a very high level, and I knew that it helped set up people for success. So my team members and our customers for success. So that was just hugely rewarding and a hugely fulfilling experience for me. So I wanted to get the word out about that and at least get this out as an option or consideration to more people. The second reason is I still found in a lot of my conversations that people were still hadn't heard of the Chief of Staff at all, or they kind of had, but still gave you that blank stare and kind of shoulder shrug of what exactly is it? It's still kind of a mystery, shrouded in mystery, a little bit of a question mark. So I wanted to demystify that role and help unlock that role. And so this series is part of the way I'm doing that. I was originally going to have this be a bunch of solo episodes from me. So I was going to talk, and it got to the point where I was like, Emily, no one needs to hear you drone on for 40 or 50 minutes per episode. So that's why I got some fresh faces and some fresh voices into the guest spots. I need to do a special shout out to the first set of guests that you'll hear from. So the first 10 to 12 guests you're going to hear from agreed to be on the show sight unseen. So there, I had nothing. I had no episode. Like, here's what your episode will kind of be like, or here's the very first kickoff episode of the series. It's a real series. They all did it on a little bit of a leap of faith. So very special shout out to all of those first set of guests and special recognition for their part in helping to make this series happen. Our very first guest, so the inaugural guest, is none other than my former principal and CEO, Ed Barton. Ed is just good people. He's a good human. He has been a CFO and a CEO at a number of different companies. He values people. He values culture. He would never tell you this, or he would never talk about this, but I will. He has won Best Places to Work awards. So on more than one occasion at different companies, he's won, this is one of the best places to work. So in the first part of the episode, we talk a little bit about his background and what has shaped and informed his leadership style and philosophy, and how he puts together an executive team. And then we talk about the chief of staff role and how he sees that and how he strategically places that into his executive team. And so his thoughts on what makes that role important and how that role helps him be the best leader he can be, and also how it drives efficiency and greater influence and impact through the executive team. So how are you putting the executive team in best position to lead most efficiently and effectively in their respective roles as well? So you'll hear all about that. It couldn't be a more fitting episode to kick things off, so I'm grateful to Ed. So without further ado, let's kick this thing off. Here is the Chief of Staff series.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.